It started like any other Monday. The office was busy, the deadlines tight, and I was pushing myself harder than usual. I had always believed that work was my sanctuary, a place where effort and dedication were rewarded. But that morning, something inside me gave way. I collapsed at my desk. One moment I was typing an email. The next, the world turned black. Colleagues rushed around me, panic in their eyes. Phones were pulled out. Someone called 911, and before I knew it, I was being wheeled onto a stretcher. The doctor stabilized me and, as protocol demanded, called my emergency contact, my wife, whom I had trusted with everything. Hours passed. I drifted in and out of consciousness, imagining her rushing to my side, holding my hand, whispering reassurances. She never came. Instead, I woke to the quiet hum of the hospital, the antiseptic smell, and the absence of her presence. I called her. No answer. Texts. Ignored. I thought maybe she was on her way, caught in traffic. But the hours ticked by, and the truth began to gnaw at me. It wasn't until my nurse leaned over with a subtle shake of her head that I understood I wasn't expecting a simple delay. Something was wrong. Later, scrolling through my phone with a trembling hand, I found it, a post on social media. My wife's friend, someone I had trusted as part of our inner circle, had uploaded a photo. There I was, lying in a hospital bed, looking pale and exhausted, with the caption, "Finally, a day without the drama king." The words burned into me. Shock turned to disbelief. I stared at the screen, then at the empty space where my phone rested. My own wife, the person I had built a life with, had abandoned me in my moment of need, and her friend, someone who should have supported me, had gleefully shared my suffering for the world to see. I had known something was off in our marriage, but I had never imagined this level of betrayal. Subtle things had added up over the years, the late nights, the whispered phone calls, the sudden interest in girls' nights out. I had excused them as normal, trusting her implicitly. Now, the illusion of trust shattered in a single, cruel post. Anger surged through me, but I forced it down. I had to understand the full picture before acting. Over the next few days, I noticed patterns I had ignored for years. The way she would text secretly, the sudden trips to the city for work, the little purchases she never mentioned. Everything pointed to the same truth. She was living a life behind my back, a life that didn't include me. I decided to investigate quietly, not out of revenge, but out of necessity. I went through receipts, checked bank statements, and even glanced at the messages she thought I'd never see. One by one, the pieces fell into place. She was seeing someone else, someone she met under the guise of work and friendship. It wasn't a fleeting affair. It was deliberate, long-term, and calculated. The realization hit me harder than the collapse at work. I had been blind to her duplicity for years, blind because I wanted to believe in the love I thought we shared. And yet, there it was, undeniable and ugly. When I confronted her, I expected denial, excuses, maybe tears. What I got instead was indifference. "It's not a big deal," she said casually, as if our years together meant nothing. "You're dramatic. You always exaggerate." Her words were sharp, but I stayed calm. I realized that confrontation alone wouldn't heal the betrayal or restore my dignity. I had to take control of my own life, protect myself, and cut ties with the toxicity that had masqueraded as love. I began to take action quietly. I secured my finances, sought legal counsel, and reconnected with friends who truly cared about me, the ones who hadn't laughed at my misfortune. Each step I took was measured, deliberate, a reclamation of the years I had spent blind to her selfishness. One evening, I returned to the hospital to collect some personal belongings I had left behind. She appeared at the doorway, her expression a mix of guilt and irritation. "I thought you'd be grateful," she said, "for all I've done." I looked at her and smiled calmly. "Grateful? For what? Abandoning me when I needed you most? For mocking my pain online?" Her face turned pale. No words, no excuses, just silence. I realized then that I didn't need an explanation. The betrayal was complete, and her silence said more than she ever could. I walked away, leaving behind the life I'd shared with her, the lies, the deception, the mockery, and stepped into a future where I would be valued, respected, and loved genuinely. Sometimes, the people closest to you orchestrate the deepest betrayals. Sometimes the ones who should protect and care for you become the architects of your pain. But sometimes those betrayals become the catalyst for awakening, for strength, for self-respect. And I had found mine. Because when laughter turns to cruelty and love turns to mockery, the only way forward is to rise above it, stronger, wiser, and free from the chains of deceit. I never imagined collapse at work would teach me about betrayal, but it did. It revealed the truth about her, her friend, and the life I thought we had. And in that revelation, I discovered something priceless. The courage to walk away from the person who had never truly loved me.